entire situation, if you ask me, given the totality of the circumstances, is just nutty, and I really and truly have no words. But don't worry, I'll try over the course of this video to try to make some sense of this.
Medical examiner, as well as Penny's martial arts instructor in the Marines, to the stand.
I just believe in the prosecution. I believe in the justice for Jordan.
And the evildoer and all this, hitting her up for money and then engaged in a disgusting behavior. Here's Lauren Glass.
I've not really touched this situation. And of course, the situation I'm talking about is the situation involving Daniel Penny in New York. And of course, as a prior service Marine myself, you figure I would be out here screaming justice for Daniel. But the thing is this right here. That right there is going to make the video much, much more biased than what I think. And also, to go on top of that, I wanted to get more and more details before I decide to touch this. And here's what I'm going to say before I get started. The situation, in my opinion, really stinks given the fact that the current district attorney of New York, whom, by the way, literally just had one of his own employees. I don't mean he himself ordered it, but I say just had because in large part, Mr. Bragg is actually kind of sort of responsible in a way for this. One of his own fellow district attorneys was just attacked, just assaulted by an illegal member of Trinidad and Nicaragua. Hopefully I said that correctly. And also, to go on top of that, the man is currently engaged in scheming for charging the current president-elect, the next president of the United States, and continuing those trials after President Trump leaves office. Fascinating to me seeing everything going on in the city, but yet we are talking about the president-elect of the United States potentially being charged or continuing to be pursued after he leaves office. Fascinating how stupid these people are. Now, I just want to say one more thing. This right here, really, to tell you the truth, is just my thoughts on the situation, okay? I'm not here to give you guys a comprehensive step-by-step bit. I will probably talk about that in another video that I may do like a look back on. But I'll be explaining more of that stuff there in the video that I have planned for Wednesday, which is about what's going to happen to the content going forward, my actual plan. And then, of course, at Christmas, I'm going to further clamp down on that. And, of course, on New Year's, say exactly how it's going to go. This video right here is just strictly my thoughts on the entire situation, because if you really look at the totality of everything, it really and truly does stink. Or nefarious, evil, whichever one you might want to say it. But still, though, at the same time, this right here is the world that we're currently living in. A lot of nihilistic morality going on here. Guys, this video is probably going to be a little bit longer than I expected it to be. It's not something that I want to do to end out a weekend. And yes, I do have 2 videos coming out tomorrow, that they're being Saturday. But we got to look at the medical, or what's coming out from the medical report. Then we also got to look at what's happened since then. Of course, we're going to be going back to witness statements, which, of course, this is mostly just the witnesses' words, things that have been reported on CBS New York and other outlets, news outlets in the city. And, of course, we're also going to be talking about this new thing that has just occurred where Alvin Braggs, one of his assistant district attorneys, got assaulted by one of the criminals that he harbored to protect. And then we've also got this other bit about Alvin Bragg wanting to charge the current president-elect of the United States, therefore also hindering his job as president, wanting to charge him after he gets away from the presidency, not even realizing that if Trump wanted to, he could just simply pardon himself for the BS crime that he was charged with or convicted of in New York, Lower Manhattan, very, very blue Manhattan. So let's go ahead and get to it. Now that I got my little monologue out of the way, make sure you guys please go ahead and cut the notifications on for the channel. Make sure you guys please go ahead and hit the like button so that way it'll go up the YouTube algorithm. You guys can follow me on Facebook. You guys can follow me on Twitter. I'll probably link a pinned tweet and probably a pinned post from Facebook in the description box. That way you guys can follow me. That way you guys have actually got better access. For a while I was telling you guys just to type in the search engine, but I think I need to do a little bit more as a content creator to get the brand out there. But let's go ahead and talk about this. Now, guys, this video right here is primarily about the situation involving Daniel Penny, as you guys saw in the thumbnail. The Daniel Penny situation goes as follows. Prior service Marine, New York City subway, and of course you guys are seeing some stuff here in the B-roll footage from the New York Post. Mr. Neely, his face is blocked out. We should be able to get away with that. If we can't get away with that, don't worry. I'll just re-edit and re-release the video or put still images up. More than likely, it's going to be a mixture of both because of YouTube's terms of services. But still, though, the man, Mr. Neely, is dead. Now, a lot of people jumped to say that Mr. Penny was wrong for putting a chokehold on Mr. Neely during a mental health episode, which we'll get to here in a second. However, more and more details have come out about this situation. It's part of the reason why it isn't going to be linking this video from Sean Fitzgerald in the description box about the medical examiner getting it wrong, the original medical examiner getting it wrong. And also to go on top of that, the mere fact that Mr. Neely had a bunch of drugs in the system, it looks like this right here may have actually been what actually killed Mr. Neely. Mr. Neely, of course, being the victim, Mr. Penny, of course, being the prior service Marine. Now, we can argue about the legality of this situation all you want, but I think at the end of the day, it kind of speaks to the fact that the standard has been broken. And what I mean by the standard being broken is go back to George Floyd. If you watch The Fall of Minneapolis, you'll come away thinking to yourself, and I'll try to link that in the description box as well, that what killed George Floyd was actually the fentanyl and the drugs in the system. I tend to concur with that, but then again, at the same time, if you talk to any BLM or Black Lives Matter agitators, anybody on the far left, they'll say it was Mr. Chauvin's neck, and they'll say all the other cops that were there were just evil, white, racist pricks, when it's obviously much, much more nuanced than you think.
And it was his opinion the chokehold did not cause death. Dr. Cynthia Harris, the medical examiner who performed Jordan Neely's autopsy, previously testified she ruled his death compression of the neck before having toxicology and other reports back. She was in the gallery listening as Dr. Chundru told jurors in a complicated case like this, he would need the results of those and psych records in order to rule on a cause of death. The defense asked, the fact that someone is restrained in a position of a chokehold and dies, does that make it a chokehold death? No, he said. Did Mr. Penny choke Mr. Neely to death? No, he testified. He explained in order for it to be a chokehold death, you have to put enough consistent pressure to render someone unconscious and sustain that pressure for an extended period of time. Using diagrams and the video from the subway incident of Daniel Penny and Neely, he told the jury it did not appear Penny applied a proper air or blood choke. Harris testified Neely having synthetic marijuana or K2 in his system and having sickle cell trait did not cause his death. Chundru told the jury he believed the cause of death was the, quote, combined effect of sickle cell crisis, the schizophrenia, the struggle and restraint, and the synthetic marijuana. Also noting there have been deaths linked alone to either schizophrenia, K2, or sickle cell crisis. Defense attorneys asked, if we removed all the health and drug issues, would Neely have died? No, he said. On cross-examination, prosecutors pointed out Neely's official cause of death was unanimously agreed upon at a consensus hearing among the city's medical examiner's office. Chundru told the court he's worked in 20 offices, and it was shocking to him they issued a cause of death so soon in this case.
Okay, now guys, I want to say this right quick after what you guys just saw about the medical examiner, okay? It's possible that what happened was that upon initial examination, then second examination, I have no idea how many times they examined the deceased. It's possible that maybe they might have gotten it wrong. Maybe there wasn't really any real bias. Maybe she just didn't know what she was, or maybe it's a difference of opinion. But of course, you guys didn't see with the re-examination, you then turn right back around and see with the next person examined, which of course was for the defense, they may make the compelling case that it was more than likely the drugs that actually killed Mr. Neely. Now, I want to say this really quick, okay, before we go any further. I remember an incident in New York that I saw on television. It was Fox News was reporting that looked god-awful for the NYPD. The case was the case of Eric Garner, okay? I was very, very much on the camp at the time of saying that the cops were in the wrong on this one. And I even went to my Facebook page, which of course is nothing more than drama nowadays for people. Of course, I learned to get away from that drama. I had to properly use Facebook and social media. And I said that I felt that the cops were wrong. Only to then turn right back around and go through the law enforcement academy like not even a couple of months later, and then of course get pulled from it and then go back in because of the injury. And when we get to SCAT, which is the area where we discuss putting your hands on suspects, that what happened in the case of Mr. Garner, him screaming, "I cannot breathe," was actually a fallacy, because in order for you to be able to, let's just say, not breathe, you can't talk. Basically what I'm saying is that if you can't breathe, then you quite frankly can't talk. If he's screaming, "I can't breathe," then the court found that obviously he could breathe, and the cops were therefore found to be in the right. Now, I'm not speaking as somebody who had just gotten a brand new perspective. I'm speaking as somebody who went through the academy, talked to police officers, actually read the report, read the notes that came after said situation, looked at it, and came away with the conclusion of, well, maybe Mr. Gardner doing this number here was kind of an indication that maybe the mainstream media was once again playing up the victim narrative. Yes, I'll probably do a video on that at a later date, because on the day before Thanksgiving, I'm going to be telling you guys exactly what the plan is. And you're probably going to see more of these types of texts I'm giving you guys now as far as the crime is concerned. Before I get to that, probably before the turn of the year. So stay tuned. The fact of the matter is this right here. The mainstream media loves to put a spin on just about anything and everything. And of course, this also comes from the local media as well. Some New York City media outlets are absolutely horrible. Some of them are absolutely terrible. And some of them are actually pretty good. Fox out of New York seems to be okay. CBS New York is not the worst in the world, but it definitely has a left bias. NBC is god-awful. ABC, not so bad. But then again, though, if it comes from the New York Daily News, chances are you're going to get a left-wing slant. That's how the hell the media operates in what is the largest media market in the United States. So, of course, you're going to get conflicting opinions. You're going to get conflicting results. However, I would be inclined to think that Mr. Neely having a mental health episode and having been known to be on drugs, and, of course, his own family had not had anything to do with it. Not saying that to upset or anybody who's pro the more Neely narrative that thinks this is a tragedy. I'm not trying to do that at all. What I'm simply saying to you is that Mr. Neely was basically, for the most part, on his own, and his own family didn't want anything to do with him, which, by the way, is not a failure on Mr. Neely. That's a failure on the family. That's your family right there. That's your son. That's your nephew. That's your brother. You need to go check on him, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, child left to themselves will bring their mother to shame. It just so happened to be that Mr. Neely died due to his own habits. And, yeah, you can look at Mr. Penny and say that, hey, look, maybe he might have screwed up here. But honestly, I don't think the people who were on that subway feel that way, as you guys will see here in a second. Me personally, I just told you guys, I might have said it earlier, I personally think that Mr. Penny needs to be pardoned, because what he did on the subway may have actually saved other people's lives, that you guys will see here in a second.
The whole train was freaked out. He was either going to pull a gun and knife or
He said, I'm willing to die. I'm willing to die.
On cross-examination of the prosecution's witnesses, the defense played police-worn body camera video of their statements to responding officers about what happened when 30-year-old Jordan Neely entered an F train on May 1st, 2023.
He's scared the living daylights out here.
That witness told the jury she's been riding the subway for over 50 years and has been threatened before, but this was the first time she said she was actually scared. She described Neely as Marine veteran Daniel Penny put Neely in a chokehold to restrain him.
Not a hard chokehold, just enough to secure him, and the guy fought.
She testified she left to go to the conductor and then also pressed an intercom button in the station to see when police might arrive because it had been a while. She also said she went over to thank Penny after. Another woman on the train with her 5-year-old son told the jury, I've taken the subway for over 30 years and I've seen a lot of unstable people, and this felt different to me. She demonstrated for the jury how she saw Neely lunging at people. When Penny took Neely to the ground, she said, I felt very relieved because I was scared for my son.
Okay, now you heard that. You also saw a guy at the very end talking about the process and all that type of stuff there. And I want to go ahead and say this real quick before I go any further with this, because like I said, this right here is really my thoughts on the entire situation, okay? One of the videos that I have planned on the channel that I plan on creating that's designated for crime, the media criticisms, and of course also history, is going to be the story of Bernard Goetz. Bernard Goetz was hailed as a hero in the city because of what he did, and then later on the media turned on him. Of course, a lot of this was being pushed by race hustlers, race baiters, Al Sharpton in particular. You guys will see that soon. Also, something else too, another video that will be covered will be Tawana Brawley. That's another story that I'll cover. Once again, Al Sharpton once again involved, okay? This situation right here, I haven't seen as much race betting and much race scripting. Maybe I haven't been paying attention as much. Maybe you guys have paid more attention to this rather than I have. Like I said, I'm just giving you guys my thoughts on this entire situation. But New Yorkers that are on the subway, they got to take that bad boy every day. And I talked about this in a video yesterday where I said that it was mostly people who lived in Manhattan who were voting for these woke policies. Meanwhile, they were completely ignoring the fact that Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, they are much, much worse off areas as far as crime is concerned. But Manhattan is the biggest borough, and therefore it's making the decisions. Part of the reason why it is I believe in state electoral college and, you know, that sort of thing there too. But still the point is this here. New Yorkers have still got to deal with this. And yes, I've said this and I stand by it. You get what you vote for. The good news is a lot of people are, in fact, beginning to wake up. But Manhattan is the hub, it's the center where everybody goes to work at. Okay, I understand people got jobs in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Queens, okay, and Staten Island. Please don't beat me up in the comments. But still, the point is this right here. People still got to take the subway. People still got to cross the bridges. People got to get into Manhattan. So therefore, obviously, people are going to look at this situation and they're going to say, man, crap is really and truly starting to get bad here. I got to carry my son into Manhattan to get a certain thing, a certain medication or whatever because of this, that, and the other. People's lives are affected because of how things operate on the subway. So what's the New York District Attorney's Office do? Well, they're going to focus in on this guy named Daniel Penny and say, well, he is obviously in the wrong, evil white racist. This guy right here killed this young black scholar who, by the way, had no prospects of the future. And we're going to lock him up and basically throw away the key and put him away for life, when in reality, the only thing Mr. Penny did was apply a air choke, which was designed to help knock this guy out. And he even had assistance from somebody else to help assist in the process of getting Mr. Neely calmed down. And now, of course, we're going to lock this guy up. And, of course, the city of New York is going to be looking to do this, when in reality, Mr. Penny should be hailed as a hero. But here's where the situation really begins to stink. So I mentioned this earlier. Alvin Braggs intends on charging the president-elect, going after him even further, even after he leaves office. You've got 34 felony counts convicted. Don't get me started on how that trial was conducted. But this is your priority, not the citizens of New York. Let's watch.
Second down. I mean, you're exactly right. This is crazy territory. And I think there's a backstory that's worth mentioning here. You know, this is, by all accounts, an inventive prosecution. That's probably the cleanest word I can use for it on TV. And one that I know you've called out as being kind of selective and strange and misguided. But it's also a case that even if you accept that these inventive felonies are somehow crimes, that your own internal bookkeeping about a perfectly legal NDA is a crime, it shouldn't lead to jail. The backstory in my mind is Bragg's office, for all of these like ridiculous statements about how they just care about accountability and fairness, if they were not seeking jail, they could say, let's just go to sentencing. We're not even asking for prison, judge. Let's get this over with. So clearly, I think behind the scenes, I don't know this from any inside knowledge, but strikes me the right inference here is Bragg's office wants to seek jail on this ridiculous case. And now they want to basically just punt it for 4 years and hope that the dust settles in a way where they can come back and do it. I mean, it's ludicrous to me.
Let's say it wasn't jail time. Let's say it was community service. I mean, you know, I can't see the president-elect, you know, on the side of the road cleaning up trash either.
Well, he has a trash truck and he's got a vest, so I don't know about that.
Basically, it's like lying in wait. Now, a lot of things could, in fact, change here. The citizens of New York could get fed up and say, Alvin Braggs has got to go. They could say that there and Alvin Braggs not be the prosecutor or be the district attorney going forward. It's a possibility. I hope and pray that's the case. But it's not so much to spare the current president-elect. I mean, we elected Donald Trump to get back in office and to get back to work to help get rid of the inflation, stop wars, all that type of stuff there. I say let the man do his damn job. That's why we elect presidents. But to sit here and say that, well, we're going to reserve this right here for later on, that tells me that Mr. Bragg is, in fact, very, very much the unhinged person that people claim him to be. I've said it myself. This right here is just further proof. But let us continue. That's the priority, okay? Let's go after Donald Trump. You know, people in New York, good people in New York, they care about their bills, they care about their situation. I'm pretty sure that they would like to see the price of stuff come down. I mean, once again, though, you get what you vote for, but still, though, I was glad to see what I thought was going to happen, there being a shift towards more common sense in the city of New York. Of course, there are still loons out there. I've talked about one of those loons in the video that come out at 12 o'clock, Emma Vigeland, whom, by the way, also, and you'll see in the video that Sean Fitzgerald did, brought her up because Emma Vigeland lives in New York, and she says, just go ahead and get used to getting slapped in the face when you're on the subway. I understand it's the subway, and you see a lot of crazy stuff, and you got to deal with a lot of stuff, but like I said before, it is the main avenue of travel. But main avenue of travel, the city, the place you live in, well, let's talk about this. So Alvin Braggs, as you guys know, has been very lax on the topic of criminals. Well, it finally hit his office.
Story about violence in New York City. Another story about it, a city where residents are already questioning why the flood of random attacks.
And this particular attack with an unusual twist clearly proves that nobody is immune to street violence. The victim this time, an assistant district attorney here in Manhattan. She was confronted Sunday at her apartment in Midtown.
And the evildoer in all this hitting her up for money and then engaged in a disgusting behavior. Here's Lauren Glassberg.
Well, that suspect, 25-year-old Brandon Samosa, will be arraigned at criminal court here in Lower Manhattan, but it will actually be a Bronx district attorney that prosecutes him. That's to avoid any conflict of interest since the alleged victim is a Manhattan assistant.
DA, one of your coworkers gets attacked by one of the criminals that you protect. Talk about the chickens coming home to roost.
This is video of a smiling Brandon Samosa being led out of the Midtown South precinct on West 35th Street this morning. Police say at about 2 a.m. Sunday, he robbed a 38-year-old woman in the hallway of her Hell's Kitchen apartment building. He allegedly grabbed her purse, cell phone, and bank cards and also performed a lewd act. The victim is a Manhattan assistant DA. She was not injured. Police traced her stolen cell phone to a hotel on West 45th Street, which led them to believe the suspect is a migrant, and they were able to was arrested just last night. Police say he was using drugs on the street and had stolen items with him. Police believe he is part of Tren de Aragua. That's the Venezuelan gang that has preyed on people in Times Square and Central Park. Samosa is facing a number of counts, including sexually motivated robbery and burglary. He also has 6 prior arrests, all from this year on similar crimes. And he's believed to have arrived in the U.S. in February of 2023. In Lower Manhattan, Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7.
6 priors. 6 priors. Never mind the fact that he's here illegally, but 6 priors. 6 priors. Guys, in my 5 o'clock video yesterday, I talked about the guy who had stabbed 3 people in New York. I talked about the fact that he had multiple priors. I'm playing for you guys this image, this stuff here in the B-roll footage of a video that I might do on Sunday once I get more details, maybe even Monday, on another stabbing in New York City. Thank God the guy survived, the guy who got stabbed, but still at the same time, it's a problem. There's a common sense solution to the stabbings. It's called the Second Amendment, but of course, the New York state government doesn't exactly believe in letting people be armed. But still, at the same time, this is just more and more proof that Alvin Braggs is an unhinged lunatic, and that once Trump gets in office, the DOJ needs to file suit in going after Alvin Braggs. I'm going to tell you right now what should happen. I'm going to close on this right here, because obviously, as you guys can see, the chickens have come home to roost, especially when it comes to his office. Here's the thing. We've had incidents in the past year where illegals committed a crime in New York, but yet they had priors in other states. We had them escape to other states and commit other crimes earlier in the year. The case in Arizona, which I may bring up in another video at a later date. That's another good example. Also Colorado, also North Carolina. I want to say that there were criminals that were illegals that came from New York down to Georgia already. Don't even get me started on the Lake and Raleigh stuff. But still, though, at the same time, the point is this right here. This is insane. It's crazy. And the New York District Attorney's Office does not want to do their damn job, mostly because of the leadership. Should the city of New York do the right thing and get Alvin Braggs out of office this next election, the incoming Attorney General, Pam Bondi, which, by the way, Donald Trump has already named his replacement for Matt Gaetz, who withdrew, needs to launch an immediate investigation into Alvin Braggs. And not only does Alvin Braggs need to be charged with dereliction of duty or whatever you can charge a New York district attorney for not doing his job, but I would also go as far as to make him culpable for a lot of the murders in the city of New York, because a lot of these criminals are people who had priors that he could have locked up, but he let go. I would look to do so, and yes, I would charge him to the fullest extent and give him the maximum punishment. But of course, if I tell you what that punishment is, it will be a violation of YouTube's terms of services. So you guys tell me what you think in the comments. Make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off. I just want to give you guys my thoughts on the current situation before we go into the weekend. Like I said, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.